Greetings and salutations, true believers. Welcome back to the Marvel Roundtable. On this week's edition, we're rounding up Marvel's Phase 1 of the MCU. It's the culmination of all the movies coming together. Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye come together as we take a look at the first assembling of the Avengers in, well, Marvel Studios, the Avengers. Let's break it down right here on the Marvel Roundtable. What is going on, everybody? It is Conor here. Welcome back to the Horny Goat YouTube channel. Of course, the Horny Goat podcasting network, where you can listen to us on your favorite podcasting platforms. And of course, it is the Marvel Roundtable, where we sit down and break down each MCU movie and film in its entirety. And we are finally here. It is 6 movies in the making, and we are here to talk about the very first Avengers movie. This is going to be a doozy. This one's going to be a big one for many, many reasons. It's not only the first time that all the major heroes are being put together, it is also the end of the MCU Phase 1, which is their first phase of movies going all the way through to God knows when. But we'll talk about all that in so much depth and detail. And of course, I'm joined with the wonderful members of the Horny Goat crew. We've, of course, got the power couple of the Horny Goat. We got JP and Heather. What's going on, guys?
What's up? What's up? I hated this movie, by the way.
I'm going to take a guess and say one of the reasons is because so many, and listen, I'm not disagreeing with you on this, so many people should have died.
Well, everybody should have died.
How are you, Heather?
I'm tired. Been working my ass off.
We'll make sure to not make this as boring as humanly possible. And of course, we've got everyone's favorite bear from upstairs, Canadian Basement. What's going on, Basement?
Man, I'm ready to talk some Avengers. This is a culmination of 6 movies, which I forgot we watched 6 movies. Or is this the 6th?
Yep, yeah.
This is the 6th? Okay, yeah, that's holy fuck.
Well, yeah, either way, the culmination of this is the 6th movie of them coming together. Listen, there's a lot to discuss and a lot to talk about this one, so we're going to break it down for you guys. Of course, love to hear your thoughts as we progress through this movie, so let us know if you guys are joining us live in the chat. Of course, we got Tim and Alpha joining us in the chat. What's going on, guys? We've also got a poll running up, of course, in the chat as well, so give this movie a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Now, normally, I go into the pre-production side of things at the beginning of this movie, but I'll tell you right now, because there is a lot, and I do mean a lot to dissect and discuss, easy for me to say, I'm already tongue-tied, we're going to skip that part. You kind of already know the story as far as the Avengers. They've been doing this for a while, the Paramount production, blah, blah, blah. You can kind of talk about it more and listen to it more in the previous episodes. Make sure you guys check them out. So I think we should just dive right into the plot, because there's a good amount to discuss. You guys good with that?
Oh, yeah.
Unless there's something mind-blowing that I didn't know about this movie, and I have to think there's really not, since it's just a culmination of the other movies at this point. Would this ever happen? They were building up to it since fucking Iron Man.
Yeah, so this is not anything that we haven't already previously discussed in other episodes, so you're right. It's kind of the same thing where, you know, Marvel Studios on its own, Paramount producing, blah, 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 rinse, lather, repeat. It's nothing really new as far as like the rights or anything like that, but this is it. This is what we've been building for at least since 2008. So this is what, a 4-year build? I can do math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3-year build. See, I can't even do math tonight. 6 movies, 3 years. I can't think of shit right now. So let's just get into the damn thick of things. So
I think they should have stuck with that mantra of, 3 years, 6 movies, not every 3 months or every 1 month a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, and then what's that? Disney Plus sprinkled in between? Let's do this. Oversaturation of content.
Have you ever wanted to watch Marvel superheroes constantly, all the time?
No. Well, you're in luck. All right.
Also, check out the WWE Network.
No,
This ain't fun.
God, fucking, oh my God. All right, let's talk about this very beginning scene. So the very first scene, or the first act of this whole thing, involves S.H.I.E.L.D. So we see Nick Fury, who is arriving at a S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico during an evacuation process. Apparently the Tesseract, which they now have possession of, an energy source of unknown potential, has been activated. It opens up a portal through space, and somehow Loki is able to show up through all of this. Okay. So, of course, Loki, being the nice, calm, peaceful person that he is, decides to start killing people like crazy. He has with him a spear with a glowing blue tip. That's a medical condition. Loki,
Blue waffles, baby.
he basically takes out most of the people right away by killing them, by like shooting the staff at them, obviously looking to get the Tesseract, and takes possession of the minds of Clint Barton, also known as Hawkeye, Professor Selvig, who we saw in the Thor movie, and some other random scientist, general person that we never really know anything about. Nick Fury tries to leave with the Tesseract. Of course, that does not go so very well as he gets shot. What I personally find the funny about the scene is that like half of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents for like a brief second don't know that Loki is like not supposed to be with them, and he just kind of walks out with the staff dressed like he is, and they're like, "Hey, who's that?" And Hawkeye's like, nobody told me anything. It's like, huh, okay, and like nobody bats an eye. So that's
Logic gap.
That's Shield. Oh yeah, that's Shield for you. So anyway, they of course figure things out. There's this huge battle that ensues with Coulson, Fury, Maria Hill, who is like Nick Fury's second in command, trying to stop Loki from leaving with the Tesseract. But of course, it faults not, and they end up escaping with the Tesseract. And we leave into the title card, the Avengers. Okay.
I got questions already.
I do too, and that was the first thing I was kind of worried about. I'm like, we just got like, what is it, like not even 15 minutes into the movie, and I'm like, I have a couple of questions, and I'm gonna throw this out. The biggest one I have is how okay, how did Loki get there? Because
my question is, what the fuck is the staff? What is it? What is that gem in that thing? What is it? Is that the fucking one of the stones?
Well, let's say for right now we don't know, but it has the same power as the Tesseract. Wink, 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 wink.
Then why does he need the Tesseract? The fucking clown?
It doesn't really make sense. Technically, the stone shouldn't have the same power. All the stones have different powers, unless it's a chip off the old block.
I hate you.
Well, I think that's what it is what Conor's getting at. But
yeah, so this is going to be a problem with this and a lot of the other movies, and like we've said before here on the Roundtable, we try to analyze these without going into depth about what's gonna happen or what we know happens with certain things and characters and stuff, but this one's kind of tricky. So
I have to take some liberties with the Avengers movies because I usually like. We're not going to go back and analyze this movie after we've found out where they go. No. So knowing certain things about where they go, there's logical inconsistencies or gaps or zero logic whatsoever.
Yeah.
Between that and the shit ton of foreshadowing throughout this entire fucking movie.
My question is, why does Loki show up looking like a meth addict?
He is.
I did notice that too. He looked like fucking like he just like he
dying. I think that they had an idea where like the stone had influence on him or something. Because later on you can see the people that he influences with it kind of look sweaty and gross.
But that makes sense though.
But he doesn't after a while.
Yeah,
so I don't know. I think there was like part of it that they wrote that they wanted to go somewhere, and they're like, "Well, we're just gonna drop that. We don't have time."
So the big thing for me though is Loki like okay. Thank you. So the problem is that the thing that kind of I'm wrapping my head around is even taking like I'm trying to take away what we know is going to happen in the future, what we know about these products.
Into an abyss.
Right. So he fell into space as far as we know. We didn't know what the fuck happened to Loki, which, okay, they kind of foreshadowed that maybe he has like influence on humans or he's in a different plane of existence from the end of the Thor movie. Okay, fine. But like, even if the Tesseract brought him, why did it bring him specifically? Like either the Tesseract had to do it or Loki had to like time it right or get it in like the right line. So like, I don't, like it's just it's a huge plot convenience. I get that. But just like it irks me.
One of those those end credits scene could have been devoted to a couple minutes of Loki where he falls. You don't have to show anything. You could just hear like an ominous voice or something and kind of piece it together for all those internet sleuths and comic book sleuths out there. to know who's kind of willing him to do this, or who's picked up him and seen treasure in someone else's trash.
They sort of allude to it later on when they show the conversation with Loki and the Chitauri, which we'll get to. But even that's just too.
But it would have been nice to have that beforehand, because there's really no need not to. You could do 2 end credit scenes on one of those fucking 1 trillion movies you have.
Well, they did it in this one. This is the beginning of this is the beginning of 2 end credit scenes, and one of them is fantastic, and the other has the big bad. But that's really the only thing that irked me about this. But at the same time, I get why they kind of did it. They had to like set the stakes immediately right from the get-go, right? They had to kind of like, okay. And they don't really kind of fully explain what's going on right from the beginning either. So as far as we know, Loki is trying to steal the Tesseract because the Tesseract is this source of ungodly power. Which, okay, that does sort of make sense. So on one hand, there's a lot of questions about it, but at the same time, I get that, they have to kind of like, okay, we got to get the things going. We already know who Loki is. We already know his motivations, sort of. So I get they kind of have to like hit the ground running with this shit. So I'm not too nitpicky about it, but at the same time, I'm like, how did like that just it didn't line up quite right? Maybe that's just me.
Two things. As soon as I saw it and I saw Loki, I automatically started to think, is it going to be a more like Thor-centric movie, or at least more in that universe? Because if they're setting him up to be the bad guy, then Thor's going to be featured quite heavily. This is my thought originally when I watched this movie. Right. The other thing too, with having that Skarsgård, whatever the fuck his name is in the movie, I'm talking about, the Professor Skarsgård.
Oh,
the guy that's doing the experiments.
Yep.
I wonder, because I don't know if this is true, but I heard they tried to get Natalie Portman back for this, but she said, I want more money or something.
Yes.
I was wondering if she was supposed to take the place of him in this movie,
or if
they were always going to use him. But in any case, like, also featuring him in the first, like, now we've got 2 people from the Thor universe that were side
Hawkeye,
characters.
3 if you count Hawkeye, because Hawkeye was introduced in Thor.
It's all fucking Thor at this point.
I'm already super Thor. The thing too, and this is just me. I agree with you. Well, but the couple of things to just note, and we'll get more into it as we get further along. The original Avengers comic, the very first one, did center around like the same concept of Loki being the first major villain / an alien invasion. So I can kind of see where they were kind of like trying to take a little bit of homage to it. Also, I don't know about you, but every time Hawkeye whips out the bow and arrow, I kind of giggle because the way it just bounces when he flings it out, like, I don't know about you. I thought that
There's something with that actor, Jeremy Renner. He looks like, remember Troll Dolls?
Oh my fucking God.
If you give a troll doll a haircut, whoa, 100% Hawkeye.
You're not wrong. But JP, I mean, so your problem was like, okay, he has a super powerful staff. Why the fuck does he need the Tesseract?
No, you're muted. You're
muted.
So my question isn't, is it the stone? Well, it is. Is it the stone? Because it's the same color as the Tesseract, and it's the same color as the blue Infinity Stone. I'm sorry. I see things, and I'm asking questions because I've seen all the movies already. Okay.
So yeah.
But I've missed some things.
Yes. They are 2 different Infinity Stones.
I know that he is a frost giant.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that is? See, this is where I'm so fucking confused. They don't explain shit in this fucking movie.
They right off the bat, they introduce something that they don't explain. And the way that I took it was that because eventually we see what happens with the Tesseract, and it gets like crushed down until it's almost like a refined mineral. Like the refined version of an Infinity Stone is what it becomes. And I could buy if it was like a piece of the stone unrefined, and they have the stone unrefined or the mineral unrefined, and therefore they can interact with each other. I really don't think, and because I don't know, I'm assuming it is a different Infinity Stone, which makes no sense to me.
So this was kind of a weird thing because how do I say this the right way? at this point, we all knew that everything was going to lead to an Avengers movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they had publicly kind of stated, oh, hey, the Tesseract is an Infinity Stone. So at this point, we don't know. To answer your question, JP, yes, the Tesseract is one stone. The item in the staff is another Infinity Stone. They're two different stones.
Which they're both blue.
Well, it's just the color of the casing that holds the stone and the staff.
And also, why would you get it doesn't make sense. Looking back at it, it doesn't make sense. I'm trying to take it for what it is, but you never see a guy trying to collect all the stones, give one of them to fucking Loki.
And that's really like the big head scratch. And I know, literally, like, we're not going to talk about it, but that is one of the big faults about this is the fact it's like, so let me get this straight. Someone is sending Loki to go get the Tesseract or go get an Infinity Stone by giving him an Infinity Stone to go get it with.
No idea why there's trust there or not. Sorry, Heather, go.
That's okay. It also goes back to when we watched the first Thor movie, and I was confused as to that giant blue cube.
That's the same.
In Thor's vault. Is that our first sighting of the Tesseract? No, that's powers of nice science.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? Come on.
There's color code shit. I'm not the smartest. Come on. They do eventually color code.
And I know you like Easter eggs and shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an Easter egg. That's just
it's just
shitty storytelling, man.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they, at this point, they haven't looked big picture enough and kind of built big picture enough.
Ironically,
I think they know where they're going. I think they know where they're going.
I mean, how do they not? All of the comic books have been made up to the points that we're at, right?
I think you have too many. I can hear myself. What the fuck? I think you have too many hands in the cookie jar at this point.
Yes.
In terms of production and like producers having say over like we want these movies this way, this way, this way, and then you have the thing is like before we get to where we eventually get with these type of movies and things with like a lot of lore, things with a lot of background, they need to fucking hire a staff of fucking comic book enthusiasts, nerds that know everything about this fucking shit. Just so that they can logic check everything.
Yep. Real quick, I did want to give some more love to the chat. I do see that Jurgen, our friend Jurgen, did pop in. So did Cora. So what's going on, Jurgen and Cora? Thank you for popping in. The thing to just note too is that, and I mentioned this kind of when we were getting ready for the stream, Josh Whedon is the known director of this one, which for those fun comic book superhero movie fans also directed the original Justice League movie that was released. And Jesus Christ, there is a lot of comparisons to this and Justice League in so many ways, which we'll get to later down the road. But I do agree with what the sentiment of like, I think that they were. Well, we'll talk more as we get through it, but I think that this is where the common thread of the story is probably the weakest part of this movie. Is another case in point, which we'll get into more detail as we go along. But in response,
it's the WrestleMania of superhero movies. It's all about the moments, not the story.
It's WrestleMania Backlash is what it is.
And if that's why people like this movie,
well, didn't say that. So in response to this horrendous attack, Nick Fury decides to issue a state of emergency, telling his top agents, of course, like I said, Phil Coulson, Maria Hill, and Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, that they are completely out of options. Fury pulls Romanoff and Agent Coulson out of their respective assignments and send them to find the heroes need to oppose Loki. So, of course, we see that fun scene where Natasha Romanoff is interrogating or being interrogated. I can't tell which. Cute little moment where she gets like, you know, she's like, it seems like she's the damsel in distress, but actually she's in complete control and then kicks the ass of everybody while Coulson's like waiting on the line and you can hear the scuffling and the muffling going on in the background.
That's what I mean. There's a lot of moments where the actors have good moments in this movie. This is one of them because you need that kind of comedy slash, smart ass moment where I'm kind of busy right now. I've got him right where I want him, even though she's handcuffed, and everybody's probably sitting there wondering, how in the fuck does she have? But here's the problem: we seen her in Iron Man 2.
Yep.
And she could fight, right?
Yep.
My issue is why, and I know it's coming. I know we're gonna get to it. Why in the fuck didn't they make her movie? Why isn't it? Why is this not part of Phase 1? Why is her?
Because they didn't think she would be popular enough.
Jesus.
I think it also has to do with she's
even
featured heavily in the Avengers movies. So is Hawkeye, and they're both the same type of side character that I don't think Marvel had given credence enough to give money to a character that didn't have big money already attached to them or big name already attached to them from the Marvel universe that they're taking from.
But sorry, what were we gonna say, Heather?
They fucked up.
We're now 6 movies into this universe, and everything is still experimental stage. It's just like, at what point are you not able to fall back on that excuse?
This
is the first time this has really happened.
Well,
when you're making
to this extent,
when you're making the Avengers, you shouldn't be in an experimental stage at all.
I think here's a couple of little notes just from what I remember about this and some of the research I did do. Essentially, you guys are right that basically Black Widow and Hawkeye at this point in time anyway are still S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. And realistically, I mean, yes, Hawkeye is the best marksman in Marvel, period. At least for now. So they're not like different. And what I mean by like they're not like
they're
super right. They're not super compared to Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, your other core group. They're still core members of the Avengers, but as far as in comparison to the other 4, there's obviously a huge difference because they're just mortal people with they're highly trained assassins, as Tony Stark later describes them.
I will say, I think this Avengers movie, if they wanted to, they should have done a Hawkeye and a Black Widow movie after this. Then they could have done it in the past, but that was the time because they're featured pretty fucking heavily in this movie. They have as much screen time as some of the other main characters, to be honest with you.
Which is funny because
arguably, if not more.
Which is funny because Black Widow gets featured in one other movie after this, or 2, and then Hawkeye gets only 1, really, up before we get to the big 2 Avengers movies way down the road.
I would also say the Black Widow in this movie, like I don't know, like okay, so first of all, Scarlett Johansson actually probably does the best. I would have enjoyed her the most in this movie of any movie in the Marvel universe that she's in, just because her range in acting actually shows. The only other thing, I don't know what the fuck this is like. I question what she goes on about nowadays with her dislike for the early roles of Black Widow, because in what way was she done wrong in this movie?
The way she was depicted, I guess.
That's the character. That's not.
I get what you're saying.
It wasn't
I'm just giving you
an arguing point. Yeah, even then,
I'm not arguing with you. I don't know what her argument is stupid.
Yeah,
even then, she obviously tried to like honeypot this fucking colonel or whatever the fuck he is, the Russian dude or whatever, and to just get information out of him. That doesn't. Once she like gives up the actual act, beats the shit out of himself. But after that, like I don't get like there's no. They're not selling her on her sex appeal. After that, they really don't.
She's sold
on competency.
Yeah, in fact, I think she's probably one of the most competently written ones in the entire movie, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
But that being said, so, Coulson's going after Tony Stark, and we see that Natasha Romanoff is responsible for bringing in the big guy. Now, this scene I'm very interested in because, so basically Romanoff goes and finds Bruce Banner, who has now been officially recasted as Mark Ruffalo. So Banner's been living in exile in India, working for a hospital in Calcutta, helping sick people, and supposedly has found inner peace in doing so. So Romanoff basically tricks a small girl into leading Banner outside of the city and confronts him, basically saying, "We're looking to find the Tesseract."
So creepy.
I know, right? We need help finding the Tesseract because it emits gamma radiation, which I'm going to be completely honest and say that sounds like a complete bullshit line that they just threw in there as a reason and excuse to bring the Hulk into the Avengers. But hey, ain't going to fucking complain about it at this point. What I will say is I actually kind of liked this interaction between Romanoff and Bruce for two reasons. One, it doesn't seem forced, which we'll get later on. But the other part was I kind of like the idea of her tiptoeing, or like her acting like, you know, she's in control of the situation, being calm, cool, collected, and Bruce kind of acting like skittish and timid, but then doing the whole like, stop lying to me, and she instantly whips out the gun, and then the whole building is fucking surrounded. And he's like, yeah, just the two of us, huh? So it made me kind of appreciate that, like, even if it's a different actor, knowing that Bruce Banner at this point is definitely a little bit, at the very least, a little bit different from where we left him with Edward Norton in the last film.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Mark Ruffalo, for some reason, like, he is a man of diminishing returns. I can't stand listening to him
in
for
the
a long
Hulk.
period of time.
He is poorly cast. He's one of those guys that I would say is poorly cast. He's a good actor. I think he's a good actor.
I don't know if he's poorly cast.
I do. I didn't care for him.
I've never seen Mark Ruffalo in something where he's not Mark Ruffalo.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's why I don't know if he's even a good actor. He's just Mark Ruffalo.
I mean, he's not bad. He's been in some good movies, but like Now You See Me, he was pretty good in that.
He was good in that. I liked him in.
But he's the exact same character in that.
That's what I was about to get. That's what I was about to get at. Was it's no disrespect to Mark Ruffalo. I think he's a good person. From what I've heard, he's a very good person.
Anything about him.
But I feel like you're right. It's kind of like he's kind of in like it's funny. I was about to say Now you said Now You See Me, which I did like him in that, and then I'm like, yeah, Shutter Island. I'm like, that's dangerously close to the Now You See Me character. But
varying levels of Mark Ruffalo. He's never really not Mark Ruffalo. But I also there's something that just pissed me off with him in this movie. Every time I saw him, I liked him less. Because and the other guy, with the big guy, the other guy. I was like, you know what? Just fucking shoot yourself in your own dick.
Well, he tried.
You fucking
he actually did try to kill himself.
He tried. We'll get there.
I wish he succeeded.
But I mean, I don't know. Part of me appreciated it because obviously you're gonna have to like bring in, you're bringing in a different actor for this scene or different, for this franchise.
Don't get me wrong. I didn't hate him. I don't hate him as the Hulk. It gives a different take on the Hulk because the other two actors they had, they're supposed to be like nerdy-esque, but this was a time where like nerdy-esque is still like hunky in Hollywood, and Mark Ruffalo is pretty much nerdy-esque.
Yeah, I get you. So Nick Fury basically, we do see him chatting with the World Security Council, the superiors who run S.H.I.E.L.D, and how they're kind of going back and forth about the Avengers initiative and whether or not this is a good idea, blah, blah, blah. Basically, Nick Fury saying, screw you, I'm still going to go with it. And the council's like, no, you won't, but we'll reluctantly agree to let you do this. Just set up fodder for later on down the road, which, funny enough, we never really, well, we'll get there. Meanwhile, Steve Rogers, Captain America, is actually really easy to find. S.H.I.E.L.D. has been keeping tabs on him since he was found in the ice and still alive. It's pretty much the scene that we saw at the end credits from Captain America, where Nick Fury approaches him with a mission. Say they found the Tesseract and that there'll be a briefing packet about what's going on back in his apartment. I don't know about you guys, but what I found very interesting was that out of all the superheroes, right, out of everybody in the Avengers group, Captain America's is the only one that we got the flashbacks from like from his movie, which I don't know if that was done on purpose because he was like doing it while hitting the punching bag or whatever. It just, that felt a little weird to me.
Filler.
Maybe.
It's more like I don't think they had an interesting. At this point, Captain America is still like developing as a character in that world. They built him up from his first movie, but from that to where he is now, he's supposed to be a man out of time that's lost to the present. But the introduction of him just punching fucking punching bags, and where did he get the money to buy all these fucking punching bags?
I love how he had like a line of them already ready to go. Like he knew he was gonna fuck him up.
Arguably, this man has 35 cents in his bank account. Let's be real.
Well, no, compounding interest over 50 years or 70 years. Oh
right,
God, doing no
cents.
more fucking math. Don't get me started. But anyway, we then cut to Tony Stark, who apparently his new Iron Man armor has underwater capabilities. That's a thing. As he is installing a new electrical connection that will take his office completely off the electrical grid, allowing him to have energy that is self-sustaining, which becomes the Stark Tower. Of course, goes back in there, is greeted by none other than Pepper Potts, who they're trying to have a date night with. And of course, it doesn't really take too much long for our good old friend cock-blocking Phil Coulson to come in and basically brief him. Yeah, Cockblock Coulson comes in and basically debriefs him on the entire situation. Pepper Potts gets the hell out of Dodge as Tony briefs himself on basically the Avengers and the Tesseract itself, because apparently he has a lot of homework to do. Meanwhile, over with the S.H.I.E.L.D, we see that Coulson has compiled both Steve Rogers and Bruce Banner together. I'm not gonna lie, there's something funny about like Coulson being like the super #1 fanboy of Captain America throughout this whole thing. At least at this part of the movie where he's like talking about like how much he it's an honor to meet him, and I helped upgrade the suit. I put a little my own design in it, so I blame fucking Phil Coulson for the Captain America suit looking like shit. I'm sorry, I fucking hate that fucking suit in this movie, but we see them all gathered together on the helicarrier, which is an aircraft carrier that can fucking fly. And I personally love how
it's one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever seen. Like who decided to make this shit? First put it in the water and have this gigantic ass process for it to get its fucking whatever the fuck they are out of the water to go up in the air. The big ass fuck. Looks like a drone that weighs 1 trillion pounds.
A basement.
Yeah.
Science.
Well, that's true. You're right.
Science. Personally, I also like the little nod where like when Captain America and Nick Fury are talking when he's recruiting him, he's like, there's not much that surprises him anymore. And he says, $10 says you're wrong. And then as soon as the helicarrier runs up, it's the first thing he does when he sees him is he hands him a $10 bill because Captain America is a Boy Scout and he's a man of his word. This cute little nod like that I appreciated.
He just pulled a pen out of his fucking jock strap. Whatever.
Yeah, apparently he has money. So there's your 35 cents, spaceman.
I don't know where he's getting this fucking money from. A man at a time. Where's all this money coming from? I want to say Alpha in the chat. When are we going to see Hulk tap Black Widow's ass?
So I'm probably going to go out on a limb and say that S.H.I.E.L.D is employing him, so they pay him.
Or he's getting lawsuit. He's getting. Sorry, go ahead.
Punch bags in the fucking gymnasium.
I think on the side he owns that gym through S.H.I.E.L.D's account.
Oh, I was gonna say he was getting settlements from ripped bags.
I think he's been sucking dick on the corner.
VA benefits. He's a veteron.
$50 if you want a hand job. $100 that you fuck me.
Aren't you gonna get any out of that? Baby. Don't worry, I've got protection. The S.H.I.E.L.D.
Avengers assemble. They're all just sucking dicks on the corner.
He never says that, but so God damn it!
I can't handle this one alone. It's Hulk.
So they're all talking about a way to find the Tesseract, find and trace the damn thing, but they were able to find Loki and Dr. Selvig and traces him to Stuttgart, Germany. So of course they send Steve Rogers his first assignment to arrest Loki and bring him on board the helicarrier. Loki is at a formal black tie gala at an art museum where he's kidnapping a doctor who harbors the element they need to make the Tesseract work. Basically this is the other part of it too. I kind of glossed over. They cut to a scene where basically Loki has gone from kidnapping about 3 to 5 people to now harboring an entire goddamn fucking staff room of Apple people in one room. Now, they surmise that Loki is trying to do something with the Tesseract. Again, we still don't know all the details, but he needs to get a hold of this element, I think Iridium or whatever the fuck it's called.
Iridium.
Thank you. Iridium. See, my notes are fucking flawless. But
science, bitch.
Science, motherfucker.
I think.
But like, it is an element. Iridium.
Where did he get all these people? And then Hawkeye is just like, oh, S.H.I.E.L.D has many enemies.
Oh no.
Yeah, oh no. It's fucking crazy.
Like, here's what I don't get. Isn't like, okay, I don't get like the character of Loki. He's like conniving, scheming in the shadows. So he goes and kidnaps this guy by putting him on a table in the middle of everybody. There's which is one way I looked at it, is like it's not really like in line with his character, but at the same time, I don't think he thinks of people like insects, so he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
I don't think they really like.
He sees.
He
it
didn't
as
kidnap
Asgard.
the guy. He just fucking body slammed him on that table and shoved that
his
machine
face.
in his eye. Yeah. He didn't kidnap him. He just threw him on the table and fucking shoved that thing in his eye.
No, I low key don't give a fuck. Yeah, that's the way I kind of. I see where we're both coming from. That's the way I interpret it. Was like, he just doesn't give a rat's ass. I mean, obviously later on we know he has.
You gotta remember, he is an egotistical god. So everybody is beneath.
Every god egotistical.
I mean, Thor is egotistical.
No,
I mean,
all those like fucking Norse and Greek gods. I'm gonna fuck you as a goat, girl. You're gonna love me for life.
Yeah. So
that's Rome.
Yeah, no. Oh yeah, Roman gods. I don't know. They're all the same.
So that is, but that kind of goes into literally the next scene where outside he's like instructing a bunch of civilians that are fleeing, and he surrounds them, asking them to kneel. I actually really like the scene where like he's telling them like they all, they're destined to be ruled, and an old man stands up and defies him. Loki goes to shoot him, and of course in comes everyone's favorite Boy Scout, Captain America, blocking the shield. Now, it took me a minute to realize this, but he recognized Captain America. What? What?
You got the dossier, man. You got the dossier.
I was about to say, and then I remember that later on he had Clint with him, so he probably, let him know about what the fuck was going on with that. But
we see a well of fucking information, isn't it?
Yeah, right. We see Captain America Loki fight, which honestly, that fight sucked. I'm not gonna lie. That fight with Loki and Cap,
ass kicked as well. He should have.
And then just as Rogers is battling Loki 1-on-1, in comes Iron Man with shoot to kill blasting on full, as he basically just fucking he hammers down on Loki and just fucking kicks his ass. And they capture
Captain
him.
America dirty in this movie. Like,
yeah, they do.
More often than they do him right, they do him dirty. First of all, they dress him up like a fucking clown. Now, I do believe like they kind of, if you look at the costumes for everybody, they're like the old school costumes for the most part.
Except for Thor's helmet.
Yeah, well, they got to get rid of that shit, or it never existed.
I'm gonna punch you in the throat. Who is in the first movie?
It wasn't, man. Not in my version, Canada version.
When they censored out the fucking helmet only?
Yeah, that's racist here. They make him look like a piece of shit. First of all, he comes in dressed like a bitch, and then gets his ass beat by Loki. Loki's not even like known to be a one-on-one fighter at all.
He is a god, and he is stronger than Captain America is.
Everybody's stronger than Captain America. At some point in time in this movie, Captain America is
still a human.
At some point in time in this movie, Captain America gets held down by one guy with a gun, shooting wildly at him for like a good 30 minutes.
I just the one particular part I hated the most was when he's got it with a staff on his head and he just swats it away and he's like, not today, and then does like this weird fucking spin like fucking Superman punch. I'm like, you could have just what the fuck was that?
Captain America like turned into like some sort of like what is it, capoeira? That fucking, he became some sort of like jujitsu god. I don't know, like his fighting child. Oh my god, his fighting style changes drastically from this movie onwards.
I did not like this. I mean, granted, it's just the very first conflict, in the movie, but I mean, Heather JP. I mean. I hate this whole thing because I hate the way Cap's dressed. I hate this fight. Thank God Iron Man broke it up.
Everything in this fight scene just looked completely uncoordinated. Like everybody was just off that day.
It's kind of ironic. The one guy that was injected with a fucking serum can't beat up a guy. And a guy that fucking wears a suit all of a sudden becomes super powerful.
It's Daddy Stark to the rescue again.
It's just like they made Iron Man look like this unstoppable force.
They are gobbling his nuts this whole time in this movie.
He is about as, I mean, yeah, he could probably work out. He's probably stronger than me, but come on, man. Come on.
I think Robert Downey Jr. is like 3.5 feet tall. So he might be your nemesis.
Yeah, I'd pump that motherfucker in the next week.
So at this point, now Iron Man's in the fray, and we have almost the entire set, except we're missing someone very crucial. So Loki, of course, quickly surrenders as soon as the two of them are like basically on top of him. And while being flown to the high-tech prison on board the helicarrier, the plane encounters a lightning storm. Rogers asks if Loki's afraid of lightning, but Loki tells him it's not the lightning that he's afraid of, it's what follows. And of course, it's Thor. Which I kind of laughed at because
I have no idea.
No, lightning follows thunder. No, what? I can't remember the way it goes.
Thunder follows lightning.
All thunder follows lightning.
So he's scared of thunder.
Right. Which is Thor. Anyway, Thor gets on the plane. Gonna mute you in a second.
What it's alluding to is usually the lightning strikes and then Thor appears.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever.
So Thor shows up and attempts to capture Loki so Loki can face Asgardian justice for his crimes. Now, this I actually kind of enjoyed. One part I found it funny that Thor probably wouldn't have been able to find his way into the ship if fucking Tony hadn't opened up the back of the ship. That's a whole nother conversation. But then we see that there's a conversation between Thor and Loki that I actually really enjoyed in this one, where it kind of expands a little bit on what happened after the events of Thor, where like, you know, I thought you were dead. Loki's like, you do realize like, you know, who I am and what my purpose, like this is why I'm doing this, and kind of not too much, but I feel like it just dabbled enough in the dynamic of Thor and Loki that obviously we're going to see continue much throughout in the MCU. But I'll be honest, I actually kind of enjoyed this part with Thor and Loki kind of going back and forth, because I felt like at the end of the Thor movie, as much as we all enjoyed it, I felt like there could have been more conversations with them, like what we saw in the Avengers movie. I don't know if they saved that on purpose, but was that just me, or I don't know if you guys felt the same way?
I agree.
They needed more of the, you know, the bickering sibling conversations going on between the two of them in the first one.
Well, especially since they set up like now this movie is kind of set up to be those two at the heart of it.
Right.
Because you got the main antagonist being part of that Thor universe. So it was good to see this. I kind of wish we not this exact scene, but a bit more between these two. We don't see as much as I'd like to in this movie, because the way if you're gonna use him as the main villain, you got to fucking work that side of that part of the universe or whatever, right? But they don't really go beyond too much. But this is a good scene. I do like the back and forth, and I also found this is another scene that I don't know how they treat this in the future, but I know enough of how they treat it to know why Captain America goes to jump out and he's like, "There's only one God, man," that was a pretty good line for him. But he grabs like a parachute to get out of there. I think at some point in time, this guy gets like hit by fucking everything in the universe that would destroy him. So why does he need a parachute?
Safety first.
Oh, God. Remember, kids, always use a parachute when you're jumping.
Remember, he gets his ass beat and says, "I can do this all day."
Yeah, there's inconsistencies.
What's a face plant at 17,000 feet? I mean,
it always okay. This is why, like, I get confused. The power scaling in that universe makes no sense at all, because they just go all over the place with it. But with him specifically, with him specifically in this movie, they fucking turn him into bitch tits McGee,
which gladly I'm glad they rectify in later things. But yeah, I think. Now you say it out loud, I'm like, yeah, they did make him look like a bitch basically in this entire movie, but
I'm not as good as everybody else, but all right.
But so Loki and Thor have their moment. I do love the listen here, brother, and then Thor gets taken off and Loki's just, I'm listening, because that fits with his character. We see Thor and Iron Man exchange blows for a little bit when broken up by Captain America by throwing the shield at both of them because that's how America would do it. Thor does "You want me to bring the hammer down," hits Captain America's vibranium shield and fucking obliterates an entire fucking forest. I mean, I thought it was a cool scene to see them all interact that way.
What do you think about Thor shooting Iron Man with lightning, and instead of like short-circuiting the suit, it just overpowers him?
That means that Tony Stark is on a level of fucking like genius that, you know what I mean? Like it's just like what the
it's electrocuted too, by the way.
Right.
I know, and it just gives him way more battery power than is physically possible.
In a
battery's
suit
charged
made of
400%.
metal.
How do you get over 100?
In a
It's
suit
a
that's
finite
made of
amount, dude.
in a suit that's made of metal.
Yep.
In a body that is human.
You know, it's this is one of those moments that we'll get back to a lot with Marvel Universe, where it's for the kids, man. Like, you know, it's
I mean,
suck your dick.
I mean, Heather, did you enjoy the fight scene, or was it more like just kind of like an eye roll?
This fight scene was a little better coordinated than Loki and Captain America.
Now, was this the fight? Didn't all three of them get into the fight?
That's that.
So I mean that was okay, but I mean, come on.
It was a tease, obviously. And that's the one thing that I you know, real quick, the thing that I actually we're probably all going to say the same thing about the story being one of the weakest things of this entire movie. But I will say the one thing that I actually appreciated was the fact that it's not like they just instantly came together and like we're a team. They actually fought and bickered a little bit back and forth. Yeah, so I at the very least I appreciate that, and I think this scene was a great example of that. Where like, yeah, Thor doesn't know Captain America and fucking Iron Man from a hole in the wall, and he has no right to trust them. And they're getting away fucking him with getting away with Loki. So fuck them both. I'm gonna shock you, bitches.
We'll also say for this fight scene, it does get a little bit wonky later on, but like
later on.
No, in terms of like the effects that they use. Yeah. This one looks probably the best of the bunch. It's one of the better ones. And I also think it helps that it's shot at dark for CGI, because you put that in bright lights, it's never going to look as good. But yeah, and it's easy to follow. The one thing I wanted to ask too, because like, and I don't know if anybody knows this on this call, like how much of this movie did they do practically?
Like how much visual effects?
Not like it seems like a lot of the set design and stuff like that looks practical to me.
Yes.
And a lot of like, I mean, well, even if I know it's CGI, but like when they're fighting and you see like the tree slowly fall. I think it's behind Thor or something. That looks really good for CGI effects, and it's the darkness helps it. But like, holy shit, did that look real to me? I can't remember. Like, I think it's like the tree falls behind him. I think it's Thor, or I don't know.
I know that
it's part of this.
I know
like
that obviously the final
big tree.
I know that the final battle was very staged. Yeah,
and you can tell in that
obviously,
one.
yeah.
But yeah, this one they did a really good job at, and this is why I like when they infuse as much practical as they feasibly can. I know it's a superhero movie, but it gives it that sense of like all those scenes with all the like electronics and shit like that when they're like experimenting on things.
Right.
That all is like not. It looks. It's practically made at least.
Mm-hmm.
Real Cody joining us in the chat too. What's going on, Cody? He also said the same thing. If I enjoyed the fight scenes and just watching them try to figure out how to work as a team and learn how to work together, which I mean pretty much the same sentiments in terms of like, you know, they didn't just come.
I do feel like they kind of jump to conclusions.
Oh, I mean,
like,
for sure.
There's a level of forced in this movie that I can't
make a good movie to me.
No, but I mean, you do want to see like if they're gonna have to like this is the first time they're assembling, they're gonna have to have growing pains as a team.
I get that, but that doesn't make a movie good.
No, but And I would say depending on how you deploy it in a movie, because like I've watched several sports movies where it's like the team needs to learn to work together, and then so if you deploy it subtly and not like all of a sudden I'm this way, all of a sudden I'm that way, and all of a sudden we're together. It's like, okay.
Yeah. So at this point, all three of them like, cool, we're done. We're over that shit now. We got it out of our system. It's like two bros that fight and then they shake hands and hug afterwards. So they take Loki to the helicarrier and they place him inside a glass cell that was actually designed to hold our good friend, the Incredible Hulk. Fury explains that if Loki attempts to escape, even by merely cracking the glass, they will open up the surface below him and he'll plummet to Earth. I think it was like 30,000 or 70,000 feet, some sort of crazy shit like that. So while they have Loki in prison, they bring all the Avengers together and they're trying to be briefed by Fury about what they think is going to happen next, because even though they have Loki, they have no idea where the fuck the Tesseract is or what the plans are with the Tesseract. That's when, of course, in walks in Tony Stark, who basically is on the same level with Bruce, is trying to figure out exactly what's going on. And he theorizes that basically Loki wants to control the Tesseract to open up a portal and control the size and the location of said portal, much like how he walked through in the beginning of the movie, sort of ish. So, of course, while conducting experiments on Loki's scepter, Stark you see trying to get a rise out of Bruce Banner so we can witness Banner's famous party trick, turning into the Incredible Hulk. And you see Banner flinches and then begins telling about how he's unable to fully harness his abilities and he suffered depression after the accident, etc. and so forth. So I actually really like the Banner banter, is that a word phrase, between like Tony and Bruce, where you see Tony kind of like, hey, that shit should have killed you, QJP. But this, this is to be looked at as a gift. And I feel like this was a good scene because it kind of changes, at least for me anyway, it changes a little bit of the way I see the Bruce Banner Hulk character. And obviously in what we get at the very end of the movie, it kind of coincides, I think, a little bit with that. So I kind of like the dynamic between Tony and Bruce, at least at this part of the movie.
I like the dynamic too between the two at this part in the movie, I'll say.
Sorry, I don't even know what the hell you were talking about.
I was saying how at this point Tony's now on the ship and they're trying to like theorize what's going to happen with the Tesseract and stuff. And I was just saying like the banter between Bruce Banner and Tony when they're like kind of going back and forth about like, they're both science nerds and how, that gamma radiation should have killed you. I felt like it was starting to pull a little bit out of the Bruce Banner character a little bit more. So I kind of appreciated the banter between the two of them a little bit.
So I was right. It should have killed him.
Well, they should all be dead at this point.
I mean, yeah, seriously.
Every single one of them should be dead.
So the whole thing is, now that raises even more questions with me.
Mm-hmm.
How did he survive the gamma rays?
Well, guess what? You're never going to get an answer.
Science.
Of course, which is another fucking stupid reason. Another good reason why
I honestly feel like
these movies suck dick.
I feel like the answer I would give.
Shit.
The answer I would give, is, and I told you guys this before, is that he's one of the first mutants, and his mutant power was just how he reacts to gamma rays.
But if he was a mutant,
and that's it. Like, well, mutant powers, like in the X-Men universe, they can get really stupid. I can make sparklers out of my hands. Like stupid. There's some stupid shit.
Here's why I call bullshit on that. You can't honestly sit here and tell me he's never gotten angry as a kid and didn't transform into a big green fucking monster.
No, it's the effect gamma rays have on him that made that happen. And I could believe that on a normal person, gamma rays would kill them. On him, gamma rays do this. So he has like an extra form of vulnerability to gamma radiation. But it's still
explaining it. It would have been great to know that. You know what I mean?
But this is what I would say. This they never go on to say. So it's just this is what happens to him.
Because people like me will say, "The motherfucker should have died."
Yeah. No,
Welcome
I
to
agree.
Marvel.
I mean, I agree,
Welcome
but
to
this is
Marvel.
why this is why I say like these movies, they're
They don't
not
explain
they're made
shit.
for kids, man. Like,
They
But-
do
for the most
not explain shit in any of these fucking movies to give you a reason to get behind any of these characters that they're just because they're the good guys. And I've got to suspend disbelief to fucking get behind the Incredible Hulk, who should have fucking shriveled up and disappeared with gamma ray infection.
It's
I mean, come on, man.
You know why? It's because they used gamma rays instead of Vita rays. That's the reason.
Yes, you're right.
About race, you goddamn
I get the joke. I get the joke. It's just so frustrating that I'm sitting here trying to figure out why these people are able to fucking survive these catastrophic events when no human,
I'll tell you
without
right now.
any explanation, can do this.
I'll tell you right now. I get where you're coming at. If you go down the rabbit hole of why the Hulk became the Hulk, it gets even fucking in the comics. It gets even fucking crazier. I will tell you off air.
Explain it in the movie. It doesn't. I don't need you to go down this fucking rabbit hole that takes a right, a left, a fucking up, and then a down. Just tell me why. It's a simple that explanation that Baseman gave. Okay.
Right.
This is why I kind of like I like the X-Men a lot more, because
Me too.
it's a simple explanation for why each of these characters, they're mutants and they have certain
Mutants.
God-given gifts. It's a blanket easy fucking answer, but it's
and
at
they
least
basically
something.
tell it to you at the very beginning of the very first movie.
So, well, here's another thing. I think all of these fuckers, except for Thor and fucking Black Widow, were mutants. How in the fuck is Captain America gonna survive going from a 5'2" shriveled up piece of shit to a 6'4", 240-pound guy?
Yeah, there's no, okay. I will say 100%. They do a poor job of explaining the transformation for him, the transformation for Hulk. They don't really use the movies as like source material for explaining how somebody became a certain way without just like jumping to a conclusion and being like, doesn't everybody want to just see these really cool action scenes, sell more merchandise?
So
it's just like, go ahead.
No. The only thing I'm gonna say is, and this is gonna get more into more behind the scenes, obviously, and we'll get more into this as we get further down because it's gonna get worse when we get to fucking Quicksilver and Wanda. But
Quicksilver.
Oh yeah, yep, we'll get there.
Moves really fast.
So with the mutants thing, and just from the production and the MCU standpoint, the reason they could not use mutants at all up until a certain point is because, like we talked about before, the properties for the X-Men universe and a couple of other characters like Deadpool belong to Fox.
You can't use the word fucking mutant in a fucking Marvel movie.
Nope.
Or else they're gonna be like, oh my god, you just
referenced the X-Men. You're
fired. Not true. That's not
legitimate.
True.
That's legitimately what the deal was when we get to the
second. They should have never made any of these fucking movies until they were able to fucking get the shit.
But you know what? That's not part of the canon for these movies anyway. That they're all mutants.
Right. Well, you just told me. But if you're basing,
I just made that up.
I understand that. But I can believe that. But if you want me to believe that that's what that is, you better fucking explain it.
It makes even more sense that they're going to
introduce the character.
It makes even more sense that they're going to include the X-Men later on in the Marvel universe. So they might retcon some things just to make them make a bit more sense, but they might not even ever touch on it again. It's the past. Leave it in the past.
The only little thing, and I want to get Heather's thoughts on the Banner Tony Stark banter, and then I want to keep going. But the only thing I will say about this is the only theory I can have about Hulk, based off of just the MCU movies, is this: in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they confirm that the Hulk became the Hulk because of a combination of gamma rays combined with leftover material from the super soldier serum. So the only thing, and this is a stretch, they don't actually confirm this and put the dots together. So my only understanding is The reason Bruce Banner is alive is because he had a mutated form of the super soldier serum basically in him that would protect him from getting killed from gamma rays. And instead of killing him, it transforms him into an alter ego such as the Hulk, which would also describe his incredible super strength and durability.
They do allude to it in this movie too.
Yeah, they alluded in the Hulk, but they also mention it when
in this movie. Yeah,
yes,
he says
that
he
is,
tried to do what you did or whatever. And
so that is the only thing I can
understand. But give me a reason. If the super soldiers, I mean, fucking Captain America survived it, and he was just a 5'2" scrawny piece of shit.
Right.
I can buy that.
Right.
I can buy that. Explain it. I didn't hear any explanation of that.
I would love for them to expand on this that serum in general, because it seems to be just it's basically a plot convenience for whatever they want to happen.
We'll get there.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just that's why I have a problem with these movies.
Yep.
Not that I want to shit on them.
But I can't help myself.
Well, no, it's not that I want to hate them. I don't want to hate them, but give me a reason. Give me one reason to hate it, and I'm going to tell you why I don't fucking like the movie.
He's going to have a journal with just like, fuck Marvel, written 1,000 times, like MacGruber.
So Heather, I mean, maybe I read too much into this as far as like I enjoyed the dialogue between Tony and Bruce. What about you? Anything that you took away from it?
It definitely showed the more human side of Bruce and Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he was not the egotistical motherfucker that he usually is. He was actually, trying to figure out Bruce in a sense.
Yeah.
Because he, like the other people that have tried to use this experimentation from the past Hulk movie, he wants to understand it just as much as Bruce does.
And that's kind of what I appreciated about it, is that like, I don't think we shat on the Incredible Hulk movie itself, but obviously there was, just like a lot of these movies, there are like some things that just like you wish they was a little bit more of, and I think that was their attempt in this scene to kind of like pull or push maybe Bruce's direction or character in a different direction, which I just thought it was nice that they actually tried to do that here.
It's also the core of who these two characters actually are. They're both very similar, more similar than they would be to anybody else in the Avengers, because they're both people that have pushed science to a certain level.
Mm-hmm. No, true.
Right, and became different entities because of it. Because even like when Iron Man wears a suit, he's different than Tony Stark to an extent. Tony Stark is still always the confident, pompous asshole, but like he's accentuated with the suit,
right?
Because he's protected. Yeah. Where the difference between him and Banner is
the mouse,
not the egotistical. He's there.
Yeah, he's the polar opposite.
It's like Arcane between. Remember,
look at yourself.
The two guys, man. What's his face? I can't remember his name. The cripple is Banner.
Shout out to Frank, the harsh truth, in the chat with us. Thank you. What's up going on, Frank? But no, you're not wrong about that. So this is where things get a little dicey and things get a little I don't want to say interesting, because it's been a movie. So I
actually liked this movie for the most part up until a certain point.
Yeah, we'll get there. So at this point, they're still trying to figure out what's going on with the Tesseract. What's the plan? What's the motive? At this point, Black Widow interrogates Loki, which is actually one of my favorite scenes in this whole movie.
That's a good scene.
Just because Tom Hiddleston fucking knocks it out of the park in this film. So they have this back and forth about where's Clint Barton. She's trying to find out where he is and trying to figure out what's going on. And of course, Loki does the idle threat of, I'm going to have him kill you, and then wake him up and basically like see what he did and then split his skull open, ultimately revealing that his plan was to unleash the Hulk the entire time, or at least while he's being kidnapped here. So at this point, everyone rushes right over, and this is where a lot of shit hits the fan. So throughout the up until this point, there's been some back and forth. Tony's been trying to hack into S.H.I.E.L.D's computers because he doesn't trust them, and of course, spreading that kind of mindset to both Bruce as well as Captain America, who also kind of hinted at like, yeah, listen, they're spies. Their secrets have secrets. Why, Tony's the lead clean energy right now, and they're trying to use the Tesseract for clean energy. Why didn't they bring him on board? There's a lot of fishy things about this whole thing, to which Captain America discovers that they were actually uncovering old Hydra technology to weaponize the Tesseract again, in which, of course, Nick Fury denies, and Tony goes, wait a minute, and here's your blueprints for the weapons right here and there. Nick Fury basically goes on to say, well, yeah, we were looking to weaponize the Tesseract because of this motherfucker, pointing to Thor, saying, you literally came onto our planet and we were hilariously underprepared for anything that you could, because you sent the destroyer and basically fucked up an entire town, and we had like no response to it whatsoever. We see them all start to bicker and go back and forth to the point where, and it finally culminates with Dr. Banner basically saying, hey, listen, what are you gonna do to me? What are you gonna do? You rented out my room. And he's like, well, you're not basically alluding to the idea that they're gonna kill him. He's like, what, you're gonna try and shoot me? You can't. I've tried, and explaining that he got low and tried to put a bullet in his mouth, and the other guy spit it out. So that took a dark turn, which, as we mentioned before, is actually an end credit scene that they cut from the Incredible Hulk movie, where he was trying to use the gun and it ultimately did not work. But Loki's plan still comes to fruition as Clinton, apparently still a various amount of ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. agents or current agents, it's just fucking crazy, blows up one of the engines, crashes the floor underneath the research lab. Mark Ruffalo, in his ruffalishness, transforms into the Hulk, while Captain America and Iron Man try to fix the shield, or excuse me, fix the engine, while the rest of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents try to hold off everything, and just everything goes to fucking shit. This is the shit hits that, well, yeah, this is probably the shit hits the fan moment. So, barreling through this, we see that Loki escapes.
Oh, you can't barrel through it. Hold on. I need to.
No.
I need to talk with some of this.
Fine.
I can't not. Okay. The one thing that I liked is, this is the one scene I liked where they highlight Captain America being naive. Because they don't downplay his fighting prowess. It's not about that. It's the fact that he is Soldier Boy from a bygone era and just believes that they're telling me to do this, I'll do this. And then he finally comes to terms with that, which is the way he should have been used in this movie, not made to look like a clown on the battlefield. And number two, they built a fucking helicarrier that takes off out of the ocean that's gigantic and goes invisible. And it's literally taken down by a guy with a bow and arrow.
Yes.
And then everybody wonders why I don't like fucking movies.
So I will also say this, and then I'll get Heather's and JP's thoughts on this. The arguing scene is very interesting, because a lot of them bring up either a lot of points or, as like Heather said, a lot of foreshadowing. Specifically Tony and Steve. I think that they're obviously very polar opposites. I like that there was a lot of emphasis not just on that on that dynamic, but you kind of got like, there was arguments and cases to be made for a lot of the different characters. Yeah, Bruce is like, you guys dragged me into the back of this freak show and put everybody in danger. It's your fault, which is true. And then Nick's like, yeah, we are weaponizing the Tesseract because of fucking Thor just came in and just ruined your shit. And he's like, well, you guys are declaring war. It's like, you brought the destroyer to us. Did we come to your world and fuck your shit up? No. And then we see Tony and Steve just basically bickering back and forth. And it's, again, foreshadowing. Tony would not be...
We'll fight. Put on the suit, we'll fight.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite part of that whole thing is Tony Stark sitting there going off about weaponizing things being wrong, and then Nick Fury turning around and raising that eyebrow. And how did your family make money for 70 years?
They all made very valid points about this, which I really
didn't
appreciated.
Like when Steve Rogers all of a sudden became like the guy saying, put on the suit, we'll find out. Put on the suit, we'll find out. It didn't really fit his character to do that and be the antagonizing person.
I figured it was the exact opposite, actually, because think of the era he grew up in.
Yeah, but think of what he was like when he grew up. He was it was like, I don't like bullies, but I don't think that really applies here. I think he was more like,
I think he was trying to shut Tony up because he saw him as a bully.
Yes.
running to fighting him constantly for an opinion. I don't know.
I can see your argument. I saw it as like, oh, wise guy, huh? Well, put up your dukes. That's kind of the
I
way I
guess
saw him
like
in
I
that
don't
one.
know. Because his
Fucking
main movie
Popeye.
focused so much on him being like a defender and a protector, that seeing him being the one trying to start a fight, or I guess start an actual fight, is kind of weird. I don't know.
Heather, JP, your thoughts on the bickering scene right before the helicarrier got taken out by an arrow?
It wasn't just any arrow; it was a
It was a
bomb
Space
placed
Jam
on one of the
arrow.
central engines.
But it took out that big.
I mean, they how much money did they put into making it go invisible? They couldn't have like some sort of like system that said incoming arrow,
Right? Like, come on, man.
incoming vehicle carrying a bunch of people with
Well,
said arrow.
Well, they didn't.
Some sort of shield.
Why wouldn't they have like Gatling guns or turrets up, man?
Because the wind.
Anything.
It's logic gaps again.
I mean, they should have just had a guy with a bow and arrow standing out there.
No,
They did have a guy with a bow and arrow, but he was fighting for the other side at the moment.
Oh,
they need their own arrow defense.
To backtrack for a second, I just need to make a note that I kind of laughed when the scene when Loki's trying to get the guy's eye, right? And you see Clint taking out the guys with the arrow. I kind of went like, thoom, 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 and you just see fucking bodies fall. Fucking cracked up laughing at that.
This is the weird, but they kill a lot of people
80.
at this part in the movie.
Well, at this point,
and then all of a sudden, nobody dies.
Oh.
Well, nobody visibly dies.
Yes.
I mean, it could be insinuated that everybody dies, but I don't see it.
But anyway, but the bickering scene between all of them, what did Heather and JP think?
That was one of the more realistic parts of the movie. You get all of these people together that have never really worked together before, and of course, every single one of them has an ego of some sort.
Well, they're all leaders, right? Technically.
Exactly. Except for fucking Bruce Banner. And at least in this iteration of him, where he's the loner type, don't fucking bother me, let me go do my fucking work and leave me the fuck alone, and the Greek guy won't come out and fuck you up.
He's a foreskin and fucking slacks.
Yeah. But that scene made sense to happen. Because that's the moment where they were all testing each other and where they all stood in the situation. So
Yeah.
when you're bringing a new team together, that is something that is part of good storytelling to have happen. Because in a sense, they were all together on the same thought process of, you don't need the Tesseract to weaponize it. You should be using it for something other than weapons. Or giving it back to Thor so he can get the fuck off our planet.
They all had a good point.
Yeah.
Thor is the protector of Earth, though. See, that's...
Well, the thing, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. He is a protector of Earth, but the thing that not really doing a good job.
Well, he does a terrible job of protecting his homeland. So spoilers for later.
God damn it!
I think they did a good job of explaining why. But anyway, go ahead.
He wants some Earth snatch.
Yeah, he does. Jane Foster. I'm gonna foster
doesn't even fucking visit her.
Foster that snatch.
Make it fly across the planet. Doesn't visit the girl.
So at this point, this is when shit hits the fan. So now we've got Captain America and Iron Man looking to fix the engine. So they're handling that on that side, and basically they are able to repair it relatively quickly, even though Captain America is being taken out by guys with guns. That whole thing was just
it was like beating. He's already dead.
The part that I really was
emotional, damn it.
The one part there's, you know, going back to the whole when like, oh, he should be dead. When the whole helicarrier tips and Captain America holds on by like that tiny little like thread or the wire or whatever. I'm like, there's no fucking way he would have been able to. And then of course when Iron Man gets completely devoured by the fan, but because I'm thinking like, okay, the suit protects him, but like his body can still bend the ways it shouldn't.
This is where you question things.
Again, I don't know why this particular part popped into me as far as questioning and this stuff, but anyway.
He's in the fucking propeller and he goes at fucking light speed all of a fucking sudden. He should be dead from that. His innards would have fucking come out his ass. Look, man.
He doesn't suffer from momentum at all. He can go F1 trillion. It doesn't matter.
I mean, come on, man.
I know.
Meanwhile, we see Natasha and Hulk have a scene where, of course, Ruffalo cannot contain his emotions anymore and turns into the Hulk, chases after Black Widow, but Thor ultimately catches him and has this, I'll be honest, pretty fun fight with Hulk. I mean, I wish they did a little bit more with it. It was a little bit. It was a little bit enjoyable, a little fun.
He gets his ass fucking handed to him.
Who, Hulk? Oh yeah.
Hulk beats the shit out of Thor. Makes him bleed his own blood.
Well, yeah, but then I mean, well, the parts with Mjolnir were really funny, where he like throws it and he catches it and he can't fucking pick it up. And he's literally choking him with fucking Mjolnir. But I love this part. They find their way back into the lab, Hulk and them fight, and then they have a fighter jet approach Hulk.
Oh, this guy's the bravest man alive.
I fucking loved this scene, and I could not stop laughing for two reasons. One, he's shooting at the Hulk, and then the Hulk basically sees him and goes, I'm gonna jump after him. And you hear the guy on the thing go, target angry, and fucking Hulk jumps on top of him. He's tearing the plane apart as it's spinning out of control. And I don't know why I found this really funny when the fucking pilot pulls the eject and he grabs him as he's trying to eject. It looks like he's flinging him around like a fucking lasso.
He gets his parachute out. I'm pretty sure his neck is broken, so it doesn't really matter. The stupidest part is like, don't get too close. What does he do? He fucking might as well really throw the plane into the fucking Hulk's asshole.
Roger that. Nope, I'm gonna
target angry.
Target angry, and then just I don't know, something about fucking him pulling apart the jet. Well, it's fun. I don't know. I thought that shit was fucking hilarious. So those two things, and then finally we get to see Thor ultimately try and chase back down Loki, who he thought was freed from the imprisonment, which he actually was, and ultimately tricks Thor into getting trapped in there himself. But one man tries to save the day, and that's none other than Phil Coulson. Phil Coulson, who has this like special cannon that was developed after the Destroyer show up, threatens Loki with it, but Loki does a quick switcheroo and ultimately
so many questions about this.
Stabs Phil Coulson, drops Thor, but then Phil has enough energy left in him before he passes on to fire the fucking cannon and blow Loki away. Lot to unpack in this scene. Lot to unpack.
Back it back up, send it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I just felt it was so much.
This is what this movie suffers from. There's a lot of forced that happens in this movie, and it's just the audience just has to accept it.
Yeah.
Sure, some of the audience might actually just naturally accept it. That's fine. But I know I didn't accept a lot of what happens and the fallout of what happens. Like, I mean, I don't get me wrong. I like the Hulk chasing after Black Widow scene, and there's a time where, like, Hulk hits Black Widow. She's dead. I'm 1,000% dead.
Oh, he was going for a pimp slap. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
like,
he backhanded her into fucking infinity and beyond. That bitch is hanging out with Buzz Lightyear at this point.
That she is. Agreed. Yeah, how she didn't end up with more injuries? How they didn't portray her with more injuries than
so
what
how did Black Widow die? Friendly fire, people.
And this is like an interesting. This is why I like actually enjoyed the Hulk character to a point in this movie, because it's like we need to unleash him, but we don't know what the fuck he's gonna do. Like it's such a
You
good
need to
plot
unleash
point.
this giant green monster that you can't control.
It's a good
But yet,
plot
if you
point.
can't control him, you want to kill him.
Yeah, it's
It's a
so
good plot point that you could have so much fun with that is immediately solved through the magic of television or something later on. But anyways, yeah, no, that scene and everything is fine. I like the Thor and Hulk interaction. The scene with fucking Captain America getting held down by one random soldier with a gun, only for him not to be able to do anything until fucking Iron Man escapes after he pulls the lever, and just like Roman Reigns spears the guy down. Like this is another nail in the coffin. This guy is fucked at this point. He's so weak.
I just yeah, I just feel like it's just there was a lot to unpack in this, and like okay, it's trying to show them like working together, sort of, kind of, and then like it just fucking chaos. The Hulk Thor part was probably my favorite.
It was fun. It was a fun matchup.
Yeah,
Because
but
it's always what like you'd like to see.
And
But-
that's foreshadowing to the next Thor movie as well with that interaction. So it just makes it that much more fun.
Yeah.
The only
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things. The things I'm saying I'm gonna say are I can nitpick all day at these fucking movies,
Yeah.
but they are nitpicks when it comes to why didn't Black Widow die? Because everybody's fucking unkillable. Let's be real.
In the main characters, anyway.
yeah. You know, it's just this part was a little bit much, and then of course the one thing that kind of irked me about this, and I remember this irking me about the movie, was this next part where basically Fury is using Coulson's death to motivate the Avengers to work as a team.
Why the fuck do they care about Coulson? Everybody died in that fucking helicarrier.
So
I cannot do it, Frank. I am sorry.
I
You can sit here and say I got to suspend my disbelief. I do not believe anything justifies any part of what we are talking about. Everybody should be dead.
I can suspend my disbelief for like the fantastical like people living and stuff like that. It's just when they force a plot point that doesn't have any grounding for that plot point to make any sense. That's where the Coulson plot point comes in. It's like they killed him. Well, they killed him, bunny ears. But like, and then they use that death. It's like, yeah, this is what they needed. Who the fuck cares about him? Why is everybody in love with this man all of a sudden?
Only one, like, okay, he's had interactions with Thor. Cool. Not really too many of them. He literally just met Cap today. The only person he would have any sort of like would be Iron Man. And I get where Fury's like, oh, you know, he believed in this idea to create, like, he goes, yes, we did try to weaponize the Tesseract. I wanted to do something different with the Avengers and a group of extraordinary people coming together to rise above and be something more. And Phil Coulson died believing in that idea. It's like
they tried, like they did. Phil Coulson created your suit. Phil Coulson visited fucking
force shit again. You're right.
Pepper Potts and stuff like that, but it was just, it's very so rudimentary that the death holds no weight for me at all, and therefore if it holds no weight for me as a viewer, I can't understand why it holds so much weight for the characters. It would hold weight for me if if it held weight for the characters, you know.
That is the biggest out of the plot points in this movie. This is the biggest one that I just kind of go like, what? Like, I don't understand that. Like, it just I don't know. Maybe that's just me, and maybe I'm just over it.
They layer it on and make it worse when they say like it's a plot point generated by fucking Nick Fury to get them all to mobilize.
That's even worse. Yeah,
that's even worse. Yeah.
I mean, Heather, am I thinking too much into this, or is this? I don't know. I feel like I'm going insane with this movie now.
Heather, I can't hear you. Heather, I can't hear you.
Nope. Still muted.
No, nothing. Nope. Did you get unplugged? You might have got mic unplugged somehow.
She hates this too.
I'm pretty sure she's on board with us, but maybe leave and come back or something.
Yeah, we'll hold off. We'll hold off for a second.
But
yeah, like the idea.
This was the turning point for this movie for me.
Oh, going the other way.
Going the other way.
Hey, all right.
That was fucking weird. No, but what I was saying was, up to this point, the only interaction between Iron Man and Coulson that we had seen was Coulson sitting there telling Iron Man, I don't care if you have to pee on your fucking carpet. You're going to research this shit and get it done for Nick.
Yeah, like...
And I'm not leaving until it's done.
Okay, I don't give a shit about Coulson. I never did.
He's also like a very straight-faced character. I think more of the audience maybe came to like him because of the show he was in, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I never watched that. And this was before that, was it not?
Yes.
This was before this. Yeah. And Frank, I do see what you're saying. He said Coulson's the only character that formed a bond with all the Avengers at some level. Here's the ones I would just personally say, I'm sorry to cut you off, Basement. Iron Man, okay, sure, I'll give you that. Even Thor, okay, I'll give you that. Cap, he just met, so maybe Cap felt some sort of guilt. That's not a bond, that's guilt. And he had nothing with
I've had an interaction with
Incredible Hulk. He had nothing with Hulk. Nothing with Hulk.
I feel like it's just I've had an interaction with this person. That's not a bond.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, if I talked to one person on the street and they were killed all of a sudden, it wouldn't make me want to go kill their fucking murderer. You know what I mean? Like there needs to be more.
Boy, it makes you wonder, shouldn't they have done Captain Marvel before all of this? Maybe. Just saying.
Even then, I feel like this was like
he was
way to get them from one plot point to the next.
Though he was a big part of that movie.
I haven't seen that movie yet. That's one of the only ones I haven't seen.
It has more to do with Nick Fury than it does the Avengers, I think.
I just don't feel like I feel like it's so surface level that them trying to like turn it into.
We've talked about that already. We understand that. We get that he was a big fan of Captain America. Got it. But what does Captain... So because all of a sudden he's a big fan of Captain America is like, I'm going to go...
The thing is, Captain America is one of the only characters that wouldn't need that.
No.
He would have fought regardless.
Right.
True.
And
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I want to go back. I want to go back because I want to answer Frank. He keeps on saying and I get why he's saying what he's saying, but he says these movies are at the core fantasies. True. All fantasies are outlandish and has little grounding in reality. Well, then don't put them on fucking Earth. Don't say this is planet fucking Earth. And then that's why we suspend our disbelief. Suspend our disbelief. This is why I don't believe a goddamn thing these movies give me, because fucking Iron Man is in that fucking rotor and should have had every bone in his fucking body fucking broken or dislocated. Don't give a shit if he's wearing fucking armor. Sorry, I cannot buy it.
I can get beyond that, and I the reason it's grounded in Earth is for relatability factors for how they sold the fucking storylines to begin with. So I get the whole reason behind what they're doing and what they've done in the past, and I'm accepting that they want to show people as being super able to the point that they can't like be killed unless there's a story point that needs them to be killed. Whatever, I can get behind that part too. The one thing I can't get behind is poor writing, and the Coulson thing is poorly written. That I will just have to say they tried to make it him have a bond, but you know, having sharing one scene that's 40 seconds long together with one or two or three of the Avengers, but not all of them, does not make me. I was disconnected from this. And it was because of the writing of the show, and not only that, it was also because of the character of Coulson, I think.
If you featured him more prominently in each movie, even being in, I mean, it would be hard, obviously, with fucking the Cap movie.
He should have been there as like
Fury.
Shield's yeah, exactly. Shield's representative shouldn't have seen Fury until this movie.
Yeah, because then it would have the more emotional weight that it should have had. Because even if, I get where Frank's coming from in the chat, but I think the biggest problem is that it doesn't have the emotional gravity that they're trying to make it look like or feel like in the movie.
Poor writing.
Yeah.
So
poor writing. Poor story.
This is the problem with this movie in general. It seems to think it can get away with things when it hasn't given those things time to grow.
So I'm going to say this.
It's like the Spider-Man fucking 3.
You have a movie. If it has good writing,
Spider-Man 3, but still,
and good acting, good storytelling, good acting, you got a good movie. You got shitty storytelling, but good acting, you ain't got a very good movie. And vice versa. If you have poor acting, but a good story, those actors are not going to be able to give you a good movie because they are shitty at telling their story.
I mean, Heather, are you in the same? Oh, good.
Sorry, just before you go 1 second, Heather. The thing is, they're also trying to tell a story that eventually culminates in a running of multiple films. So it's like they're trying to. This why compared it to WrestleMania in the past, they're trying to build towards the next thing, but that were actually in the present and recently present, build towards the next thing, but also give everybody those moments that they want to see.
Yeah, it's a catch-20. It's a extremely difficult, if not impossible, balancing act.
Yeah.
But I mean, Heather, you on the same Coulson hating train that we all? No, I'm kidding. Not a hating train, but
honestly, we have not seen much of anything from Coulson in any of the movies up to this point. So if we are a brand new fan to this series and we're seeing this going on, how are we supposed to understand the emotional relationship as to why they all of a sudden... the only one I could actually understand being the ones to be like, yeah, we need to do this for him are Black Widow and Hawkeye, because those two work with him daily.
I could see Iron Man.
But we didn't see the interaction between
exactly. That's the problem.
Any of them enough, really, right? Like,
but
it's just not the point they should have pivoted on to get them to all like finally be like, I guess we're over our strife.
Right. But let's we still got more of a movie to go through. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm going to try and barrel through a lot, so just bear with me here. So at this point, they decide to work together. Thor's out of there. Thor breaks out of the cage just in the nick of time because God bless him. God's bless him. Banner survives the fall and finds himself in an abandoned warehouse by a lone security guard who looks like what the hell is that guy's name?
Huh? Pedophile?
Say there, monsieur.
I've seen that guy in so many different like movies and stuff.
He's in everything he
actor,
can possibly get his hands on. The guy who played the security guard in that warehouse.
But they finally put together that Tony and Cap finally put together the fact that Loki is looking to open a portal right above the Stark Tower, and he's looking to bring the Chitauri army. So why Iron Man, I love this part where Iron Man flies up to the Tesseract and he's like, "Shut it down, Doctor." He's like, "I'm not going to," because he's still under mind control from Loki. He's like, "Yeah, no," and tries to blast it himself because that's what Tony would do, and gets blown away. Tony then has, of course, the famous interactive with Loki where he threatens Loki, saying that the Avengers are coming for him, that even if he does succeed, it's all on him, and maybe we may not save the world, but we'll damn sure avenge it, which thinking about that line now is like, yeah, okay, cool. That means he'll still gonna fucking destroy the world. But anyway, cool Iron Man suit.
So avenge it from space.
He gets tossed. He gets tossed. Yeah, exactly. He gets tossed out the window. We see the brand new shiny Iron Man suit. And then that's when, of course, the Chitauri start to invade. So again, shit gets all over the place. So I'm going to try and somewhat barrel with this as best as I can as far as the action. So,
oh Lord.
Oh yeah. So here comes the action rapid fire. So Thor fights Loki. Everyone starts going all over the place. Eventually Bruce Banner does show up and reveals his secret, which His secret cap is that he's always angry, implying that he is in control of when he can finally transform from the Hulk.
That makes no sense.
Nope, it doesn't. We see them do the iconic 6-man pose where they all go around and they do the poses and everything. And
that whole plot point with Hulk,
it goes against what just happened.
Is pretty much the thing I hate the most in this movie.
That particular plot point?
It makes no sense. How is he all of a sudden in control? We just seen a scene where he almost killed fucking Black. It doesn't make any sense.
I think Basement's nose is bleeding.
No, this part, even when I first watched it, I'm like, what the fuck? This makes no sense. Somebody explain to me why all of a sudden, and I don't give a shit what the fuck guy says. I'm always angry, but you act like a fucking tank guy.
Fucking story.
No, but how in the world is he all of a sudden in control and not beating up his friends?
Well, I mean, god damn it. You got to suspend your disbelief, right?
Science. So we see we see the iconic pose with all 6 of them. We see Thor try to bottleneck them. Iron Man's fighting them. It's basically all just sort of chaos and pandemonium all across the board. We see them blow up a space whale. We see
Ellie from The Last of Us.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Loki drops his staff and basically sets up the final plot point coming up. But I mean, with the exception of that Hulk thing, up until the point where Black Widow's about to shut down the portal, which is really the next big major part, there's a lot of fight sequences in this part. I mean, this is a good amount of fighting, which...
it's for the kids. It's for the kids.
Sorry, Frank, I had to say it.
I don't hate it all. There's some great fight scenes and there's a couple of good ones.
But good moments.
Yeah, I like the Cap moment where he he fucking should have had his ribs broken when he landed on the fucking car. I like
he had a parachute.
God damn it. It's the Vita rays. The answer is always the Vita rays. I like the Hulk smash line. I like the part where Iron Man's I like the visual cinematography of when Iron Man's flying and then he flies down, he blocks, shoots at Cap's shield to bounce the thing off, then flies off, so you get to see different perspectives from each member of the Avenger. I also loved Hulk being stubborn and fucking holding a grudge by punching Thor off camera. I thought that was fucking hilarious. So
fucking great.
Yeah, there's a couple of
there's some great moments in this.
Yeah,
I love the flying centipede monsters. I still don't know how they were flying because they look like they belong in the ocean.
Go ahead.
Everybody else had mechanical flying tools that came in, like those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fucking rocket bikes. But what the fuck were those things? How were they flying?
And of course the big moment where Hulk beats the shit out of Hulk beating the shit out of Loki.
That was perfect.
The end of that was fucking perfect because even Tom Hiddleston sat there and said, they wanted me to say something after that, but after taking a beating like that, I figured the only thing to do that would make sense for that moment would be the.
Frank, I was actually being a smart ass just to let you know.
He's being a smart ass right back. So
you guys are two smart asses.
But I mean, JP, even all criticisms aside, the fight sequences at this point with all the aliens and stuff, man.
It also looked the worst of all the CGI. I get it. It's a lot of CGI, and it's obviously
there's a lot of touching parts, a lot of moving parts.
Rendering that and getting it all set up within the time frame that they had.
One scene that I did like in this, the one scene that I did like in this sequence was the scene with Captain America and the police officers.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
He said, here's what I need you to do. I need you to take a perimeter back to 39th Street. I need you to go up there and get them people out. We got people, we need to get them out of here. And he goes, why should I listen to you? And then all of a sudden these aliens come and he just fucking destroys them. And he's like, okay, so what I need is, and that was pretty good.
That was good.
Like they said, the acting was the how do I put this?
It basically had almost everything down pat except for a storyline.
The timing of the acting was pretty good.
Now,
this movie.
I will say that what we're alluding to, the quips and the on point things, for me, have diminishing returns over time.
They do.
Because they tend to be out of place when the storyline gets a lot more serious. And I know they want those moments of brevity, but it's like, man, we just lost fucking 8,000 people. Well, Thor, you're fat. It's like, what the fuck? Like,
I mean,
those moments of brevity become a bit out of place as time goes on.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But they do it right here, and this is the intro to multiple things. Skybeam as being part of everything in the world. It's already been introduced, but this is Skybeam number 508 in the 6th movie. And then you have a legion of unrecognizable CGI villains.
True.
Which is a thing that exists in every fucking Marvel movie ever. And it angers me because I don't care at all. And it's like, well, we need to show them killing something, and they can't be people because then we can't make this PG.
Right.
So make them unrecognizable insect monsters.
Well, they're aliens.
Science.
I don't know what they are.
But I mean, but I didn't mind it. But this is then, as if we couldn't add any more shit to add onto the pile of things happening. S.H.I.E.L.D. decides on their own, hey, this is bad. We're gonna send a nuke.
Well, I didn't get this. Were they just planning to nuke? It was Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're gonna nuke Manhattan.
Yes.
Yeah.
How is that gonna stop monsters from coming in from the sky?
Because they think they were trying to aim it for the portal or the machine where the Tesseract was to destroy that, but
they figured if they leveled the whole area.
The science behind it.
This to me was like, I was like, I don't get. You're gonna. It's like, well, there's monsters attacking from space. We don't know what's causing it. Let's blow up the city.
I also love how they're like, oh, an unregistered birdie is taking off like a plane. So Nick Fury runs out with a fucking rocket launcher and shoots one of the shoots a jet, and then another jet takes off. And there's two.
Have you seen my 9mm?
There's the two parts I love about that is he takes out a fucking gun like that's gonna stop it. It's like, ah, shit, I'm gonna back up now. And the second part is that means he blew up the wrong fucking jet.
Or there was just two launching at once, and they just didn't know somehow because that fucking helicarrier knows nothing ever.
I mean, that's true.
My other question is, how are like throughout this whole movie, I never saw an earpiece in anybody. I don't know.
Oh my god!
Telepathically
thank you for bringing that
talking
up.
to each other. Like, there's a point where Iron Man's talking to Steve Rogers. He's got no earpiece in. I'm like, what?
When did you guys all get earpieces?
How are you speaking to me in my mind?
So
you watch me when I masturbate?
Doctor told me I should stop masturbating, and I said, why? And he goes, because I'm trying to examine you. So, they send the nuke, and of course, Fury lets Stark know. Stark gets the hell out of Dodge as fast as possible, and just as they seemingly grab, at this point, Black Widow's up on the roof, has got Loki's staff, and is able to figure out and surmise that, hey, I can actually shut this thing off and close the portal, as there was a safety precaution in there to cut the power, just in case something went bad, plot convenience. Stark is able to grab hold of the nuclear missile and drive it straight through to the portal of the Chitauri, not knowing if he was going to make it back or not.
Don't even get me.
This also didn't make any sense at all.
Nukes have a GPS tracking system on them.
Not this one. That was in the first jet.
Listen, he's Iron Man. Whatever he says goes.
So, of course, the nuke blows up the Chitauri mothership and disabling all the other Chitauri warriors, fighters, aliens, and space whales. Iron Man just coincidentally, and I mean, perfect timing, falls through the hole just as it closes with the explosion coming right behind him so that nothing affects him or nothing harms him.
They were like a hive mind, and literally they had their mothership on the other side of a portal anybody could get through.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But anyways, like, why would he even try that? Just close the portal. They can't get through, and just fucking either disable the bomb because he knows everything about bombs.
Well,
or
the
send
nuke's
it off into space.
Didn't you hear the nuke has
Well,
a GPS
you do
tracker
realize he became an astrophysicist fucking overnight.
Yeah.
He's also an astronomer. He read my palm, and it says "fuck you."
So Tony is able to make it out just in time. They capture Loki. It's all the same to you. I think I'll have that drink now. And we essentially wrap things up with this. So we see that we see that Tesseract is now back in the possession of the Asgardian, which I'm not gonna lie, I find it very funny that, like, in order for the cube to work to transport both Loki and Thor, it required both of them to do that. I just thought that was funny as hell. And the Avengers seemingly go their separate ways. The nuke thing, I don't get why the nuke thing had to, like,
even exist.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to think of, like, was it necessary?
They were. The thing is, this movie is long. It's like 2.5 hours long, and
shit.
You didn't necessarily need that plot point of we're trying to show that Fury's, though he does some questionable things, he's erring on the side of like doing the right for everybody, which is like there is about 10 minutes of this movie devoted to that because he's got that like meeting with the council and then a meeting with the council and then this whole bomb shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, man, you could have probably spent those 10 minutes better. Do we really need like the fucking government trying to bomb people? Like, it didn't make any sense. Well,
right.
I mean, those 10 minutes,
and even it didn't make any sense.
Those 10 minutes could have been devoted to fleshing out the fight scenes a little better, so that the one thing would have had more time to space things out and get it to not be so janky in some parts.
Yeah.
The one thing I do and I will always dislike about Marvel and to an extent Star Wars, anything Disney owned, they don't seem, and they know, they don't seem to invest in showing like a long cut of a fight. I know in Marvel sometimes it's difficult because there's CGI at play, but like you can, I mean, come on, man. Like they brought in those fuckers from like. I mean, okay, so for instance, I'm gonna just in Star Wars they brought in the guys that did the raid from fucking Thailand or whatever they're from.
Yeah,
and they did like 5 to 10 minute segments of no cuts.
Okay.
Martial arts and things like that.
Yeah.
Give me something that makes me believe that you're not like it's just cut to shit.
There is one
all
movie,
the fight scenes are cut to shit in Marvel.
There is one movie I think does I'm not saying it's best, but as far as what you're looking for,
Shang-Chi.
Yeah, we'll get there. That is one of my favorites, but we'll get there. But I mean, yeah, the nuke thing just kind of like seemed like, I don't know if it was another plot convenience thing as an excuse to get rid of the Chitauri.
I think that's it. They're trying to wrap it up and be like, well, what would stop them from opening it up again? Well, they're dead. I mean, that's gonna stop it.
Yeah.
But they're also just pawns anyway, so I don't know.
Yeah. So, and then of course it ends with Fury saying like the Avengers are on a leave of absence and call back when he needed, and says the council of the Tesseract is where no one on Earth will be able to find it, and that the secret's out. This group is too dangerous for the world to handle, and Fury's glad because he wanted to make sure that New York was a warning. And also, shout out to the Stan Lee cameo of him saying superheroes in New York. Yeah, right. So I've always loved the Stan Lee cameos. So then we'll talk about, I guess, the end credit scenes, and we'll kind of talk about the overall thoughts about this movie. We got two mid credit and end credit scene. This one, of course, the end credit one, the shawarma joint where they're just eating after the battle.
Why this was the thing, to be honest? Like, why
Tony was gag? I get why. Well, he made mention at if you remember, he's like,
why?
Well, okay. Well, I'm going to tell you why, because at the end of it, he's like, well, towards the end of it, they still had more to do, but he goes, I want a shawarma. So I think that's why they showed them.
No, but why did he say I want it? It's just like, it seems unnecessary.
Why did he say I want a fucking cheeseburger when he came out, when he should have fucking died in the fucking desert? That's what he said he wanted.
And the cheeseburger killed him.
Just saying.
But of course, the other big scene.
That scene was more than just eating fucking cheeseburgers.
I know that basement. Never mind.
The scene with them eating the shawarma was to show everybody that through all of this, they finally came together as a team and are proving that they're going to stay as a team.
Yeah,
I'd eat shawarma. I would eat shawarmas with fucking strangers. I don't give a shit.
But has anybody actually tried shawarma?
I love it.
Wait, seriously? Have you had it?
Yeah, I have had shawarma.
I've never had it before. Now I want
Oh,
it.
it's good.
Good.
It's like a wrap with like vegetables I can't name.
But of course,
I really don't know what they put in there, but it's good.
Of course, the other big scene that everyone is talking about is, of course, when the person who was aiding Loki decides to talk to the big boss upstairs and says that
Marty McFly the whole time.
It is futile to attack Earth, as fighting the Avengers is to court death. And of course, we see the Master turn around, revealing to be none other than the purple-faced Grimace Man himself, Thanos. And that
the first real hint of anything being a supervillain in any of these movies.
Yep. And that is Marvel the Avengers.
Shitty movie.
I'll start with JP because I know he wants to get a lot off his chest here, and then I'll jump to Heather, Basement, and finally me. So JP, you first.
I already said it. It's a shitty movie. Why? Because the acting is okay, and the storytelling is absolute fucking garbage. All this movie is, the reason everybody loved this movie wasn't because it was the suspension of disbelief or whatever you want to think it was. It was for the explosions. Everybody's all about this action. Oh my God, I want to see explosions and people fucking shooting things. And it's just
a superhero movie. So
it was worse than Transformers.
Oh God, that's saying something. That might be fighting words.
That's a bold statement.
I like Transformers.
Ooh.
Why? I can believe Transformers.
That's even bolder.
Aliens.
You can believe Transformers.
Well, they're from another planet. They're from another galaxy. Yeah, I can believe it. Star Wars is the same thing.
Okay.
Okay.
You Basement. Why do I like Thor? Because I think it could. How do you know it doesn't exist?
To each their own, you know.
How do you know Thor doesn't exist? I don't know.
Mean, on the level of suspending disbelief, robots that come to Earth turning into fucking cars and trucks, it's pretty much on scale with somebody building a suit of armor and becoming Iron Man.
Not really.
I don't know, man.
I believe the Iron Man suit more. But anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So
I hated this movie. Hated it. This is one of the worst movies of. Yes, hated this movie.
All right. So I gotta ask. I guess I asked the rating question then. Out of 10.
3.5, 4.
All right.
Yep, I hated it.
Ooh, jeez.
Heather, did you hate it?
Even though there was some great scenes in it, I cannot get behind the fucking movie, and I don't care what anybody fucking says.
All right. Heather, do you share JP's sentiments?
I'm not going to go that low with the rating, but with the plot holes in there and the it's just the bad storytelling overall.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I got to go with at the very least a 5.5.
That's a fair.
The other shit is fantasy I can get behind. This is fantasy on Earth. Fuck that shit. Not fucking buying it. Right. Sorry. Well, you can sit here and say thank you, Basement, but I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I fucking find that Avengers is a shit fantasy movie.
All right, then that's fine to have that opinion about that. See, Wendy says yeah. I mean, Basement, are you kind of on the same level as far as
well, no, I'm not. The Avengers. Okay, so when I got basically, I'll have two different ratings. When I first watched it versus now, obviously knowing the future of things and stuff like that, it's definitely worse now because there's so many inconsistencies and things that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Back when I did originally watch it, I still didn't really like a lot of the things I don't like now. But now there's new things I don't like that have no there's no consistency. So like when I first watched it, I'd probably give it like a 6.5 or something like that out
All
of
right,
10.
so not too much higher than others. Okay.
Maybe a 6.57, say, but just because like it's the first time to see them all on screen. They did a good job for part of the movie. No, they didn't do a good job of explaining things, but I've stopped really looking at these movies to ever do that at this point because they failed me on the movies beforehand to do that. It's just not going to happen. I mean, if you probably peruse the comic books, you're not going to get fucking grand explanations. It's more like I came up with the character that would be cool. It's like Jekyll and Hyde, but my version, which is Hulk and Bruce Banner. Oh, why? How did he do that? Oh, it's experiment gamma radiation. Oh, does that make any scientific sense? Do I look like a scientist? And no, I write comic books.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm like, okay, cool. Though I do feel like it would benefit from a lot more like fleshing out. In that sense, I actually feel like it would have been better for them to do maybe 2 movies for each of the characters before jumping into the Avengers series.
Not a bad idea.
I think that might have helped them flesh out how they wanted to do it, and it wouldn't have created such a story. Like the storyline is forced. It's terrible. The writing for how the storyline progresses is poor. Not the writing for the characters, but the storyline in general.
The narrative,
the acting, the narrative overall is poor. I think the acting is good, some better than others. I have to give it up to Scarlett Johansson in this movie because she's the only one that actually goes through a range of emotions. Like after she gets attacked by Hulk, she's like visibly shaken and is like kind of out of her element. The first time you see that from a character that exudes such confidence. And I picked up on like, what? Damn, that's pretty good. But other than that, I hated the last 40 minutes of this movie. I'm just not a fan for the CGI fest action. It's just like I could take that 40 minutes and turn it into 10 and get the same level of enjoyment.
Yeah, like it was too much.
Yeah.
All right. I
give this movie a 5. Sorry.
Fucking leaving the edge of my seat here, goddammit. I'm pretty much in the same boat of everyone. The story is the weakest thing about this. There are elements about this movie that I actually genuinely enjoyed, and obviously, without going too far ahead, because we're trying not to look too far ahead, lay some framework and groundwork for future things without going too much. The Thor Loki dynamic I loved in this movie because it harkened not only to what happened in the Thor movie and kind of fleshed out a little bit more what I was hoping for, but obviously as a precursor to more of what we're going to get in the future. I loved Tom Hiddleston in this movie. I think that I could very easily see why they made him Loki, and I very easily see why they made him the villain. Was he the best villain? Absolutely not as far as overall, but to be the core one to kind of take the lead in, I get why they did that, because let's face it, out of all the Marvel villains they've done so far leading up to this movie, he was clearly the best one, almost no contest.
Do you think that it was a fault to put a villain that's already lost in as the main threat to an Avengers initiative?
No.
And we're only like 2 movies removed, or 1 movie removed.
The reason is because
I think the imposing force felt weak.
Because Loki is in a different element. He's not hiding behind an Asgardian throne. He's not hiding in Asgard. He's kind of doing everything.
Yeah,
he's in the front lines now, which
he's also had character development.
He's not like an opposing physical threat. Correct. He's not the same. There's not much difference from him on Asgard versus Earth. However, the perception of him on Earth is more threatening, and so ergo, there's more different things. There's different reactions to him being on the forefront and the front lines. I mean, shit, he got taken out by an arrow too. God damn it, you know. So I didn't mind that part, but with everybody saying the same thing, I'm on the same boat of like the narrative was weak to the point where like the first time around when I watched this way back, I forgave a lot of the narrative points because I was kind of like, okay, yeah, they're throwing them all together. It's the action blockbuster of the summer. The action's the emphasis was clearly more on the action than it was on the narrative story. 100%. That's why there were fight scenes, for better or for worse, more often than there were like narrative explanations. Hence why I really didn't like the low-key Captain America fight at the beginning. But looking at it now, it's more glaring. Because like Baseman said, like the 40-minute CGI fight fest at the end could have been cut in half. You could have had the same emotional impact, the same all that stuff, and it just kind of took away from it, unfortunately, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go 6. The only reason I'm gonna go 6 is because the guilty of, yeah, they're all together and there's enough bits and pieces here and there, like Tony and Bruce, Loki and Thor, and I appreciated the unique interactions with the unique characters the first time around, and as much as I give the story shit for being weak, I will give them the credit for at least having them kind of figure shit out before they actually came together at the end. So I give them that at least. The very
I think I've seen this movie like 2 or maybe 3 times now.
Yeah.
And it's still like that popcorn movie that you can still watch.
Yeah.
Does it have glaring weaknesses? Yes. Is it like I want to shoot myself while watching it? For me, no.
We'll get there. Oh, we'll get there.
For me, no.
I think it's the very next movie, isn't it?
Next 2? No, next one.
Yeah. For me, no. And I did to an extent. I'm in between. I would say I'm in between Conor and JP when for me, I love movies to be grounded, especially I love when something takes a more realistic approach to something that's obviously fantastical and they explain things to me. I love getting an explanation for things because it makes me believe in what I'm listening to. This to
JP's
this
point,
and most Marvel movies I find they're not for me. They're not for my mind. They're not for my age at all.
Yeah.
I can still enjoy them. Like I can enjoy a Pixar movie, but there is a level of maturity that in a movie that I need for me to really, really like it. And a level of like being a fleshed out world that gives me understanding. I need to know why somebody can do something. It just helps the movie for me. But then again, I can watch these movies and still find enjoyment.
That's fair. But I get you're kind of going with it, kind of coinciding with what JP said. So I'm not going to torture you guys too much because we've been through already so much of the Avengers movie itself. The last question I'll ask you guys, we've seen this is the end of MCU Phase 1. I'm not going to ask you to rank them all. Out of all the movies we've seen so far in the Marvel,
right.
what's the best one we've seen?
Thor.
We've seen what? Iron Man.
Iron Man,
Thor,
Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor,
Iron Man 2,
Captain America, and this one.
We're in this one.
I actually agree with Heather and JP. Thor has been the best one in my opinion.
I will say Thor as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, we've wrapped up another Marvel Roundtable. I feel bad dragging JP in.
One more thing. I need to fucking say this because I'm sick and tired of this shit. I feel like I have to explain myself. I don't want to hate these movies. When you give me a shitty fucking story, I'm going to shit all over it. If it was a good storytelling, I wouldn't shit all over this fucking movie. I wouldn't shit all over any of these movies.
I think these
movies have no story.
There's so much that goes into enjoying a movie or disliking it. And this is why like everybody has like even on this panel, Everybody has vast differences in why we enjoyed or disliked this. I mean, if you're going to the movie expecting something you know it's not going to be, you're not going to like it. And you know it's not going to be what you're expecting.
Right.
You know they're not going to explain the shit that you're looking to get explained. You know it.
Yeah. But
I'm sick and tired of having to explain myself as to why I don't fucking like something. I shouldn't fucking have to. Take it for what it is. If you don't like what I have to say, I don't care.
I mean, if I really like something and I say, "Well, JP, why don't you like it?" and then I would expect an explanation. And I feel like you're fully within your right to explain yourself, and I'm fully within my right to explain why I liked it. But
yeah, we may disagree, but
people are going to end up on different ends of the spectrum. There's movies I probably hate that JP loves, Heather loves, Conor loves, but that's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, give me a good story and a good movie or good acting, and I'm enthralled. But this did not fucking do it.
I'll say fine. Good acting is very subjective.
But no, I have to justify why I'm shitting on this movie, and I shouldn't fucking have to.
Well, we're talking about the movie, so we all have to.
You already did though. You said why, so it's not like I'm not asking you to like deep dive and like say you're wrong.
Wrong. Fake news.
Thanks, Basement. Well, that being said, we're
I agree with him most of what he said. They're all dead.
They're all dead. Heather, any last minute thoughts on the Avengers or MCU Phase 1 before we wrap this up?
Thank God that part is over, because out of all of the movies, except for one of the other ones that are coming up, I think the Phase 1 movies are the worst because they are the experimental phase of the MCU.
Right.
I disagree.
Well, we'll see how things go, because
like I said, with the exception of 1 or 2 coming up.
Or 7.
There's some coming up that I thoroughly enjoyed.
I'm watching DC. I don't know what you guys are fucking talking about.
I'm gonna go watch the Batman and wank off.
Basement, any last minute thoughts before we wrap up? Marvel or Avengers at Phase 1, anything?
I like origin stories, so I liked Phase 1, but it wasn't done incredibly great. I feel like Marvel is something you look at that just gets better as they go on, but they also get super fucking formulaic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like at some point in time, I could take any of the new movies and replace them with different characters and be like, "Have you seen this film?"
Which is funny. I have. Which is funny because sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. It's very bizarre. We'll get more into that.
Like, I mean, the comic book's probably the same.
It pretty much is, yeah.
You're not wrong, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But with that being said, we're going to thank you guys for tuning in for another Marvel Roundtable as we wrap up MCU Phase 1. Again, you guys can check out the reviews of all the other movies we've done as we now barrel our way into Phase 2. So make sure you guys come back here next Monday right here on youtube.com/hornygoat or on the Horny Goat Podcasting Network, where you can listen to us on your favorite podcasting platforms as we dive in to Marvel's Phase 2 and arguably...
best movie ever.
The best movie ever. Join us next week here on the Marvel Roundtable as we dissect the final movie in the Iron Man trilogy with Iron Man 3.